Happy Friday, everybody, and happy spring for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. Today is March 21st, and we have some all new free science fiction and fantasy bestsellers to keep you cozy this weekend. Because every single Friday, we here at MetaStellar read the first few chapters of each of the top 5 free fantasy and science fiction books on Amazon. Today's list includes epic, romantic, and urban fantasy. Plus, what would happen if the A-Team was set in space, or maybe Suicide Squad in space? Bunch of crazy ragtag criminals in space, basically. But before we get to all that, hi everybody, welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and today I'm joined by E.S. Foster, who helped out with the reviews, and Emma is here with us today. Hi, Emma.
Hey,
All right, so before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos that we do, as I said, every single Friday. All right, so Emma is going to introduce the books today. So, Emma, let's go and start with book number 5 and count down to book number 1.
yeah, so book number one, I got it up here behind me.
Book number
It
5.
is book number five, that's right. I thought I said that. But this is the first of three books in the Gathering Water Urban Fantasy series. The other books are $3.99 each, and they are not available in Kindle Unlimited right now. And just so you know, Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you're able to read all the books that you want for free on Amazon. So if you don't mind being part of the hegemony of Amazon, I'd say go for it. So, Maria read this one for us. So, Maria, would you like to tell us what this review is about?
All right, yes, I actually read a lot of the books today. So it's been, I didn't have anything else to do today, so I'm just like reading books. Um, and oh, I have the wrong one. I I forgot to like change this. Anyway, you saw the picture of the book. Emma showed it to you. Anyway, so this is a coming of age story, a fantasy set in the modern world. It's about Della. She just turned 18. She lives with her foster mother, and she's supposed to move on and begin her grown-up life after being in a foster system since birth. So she's been bouncing around foster homes and group homes, and she never has really fit in anywhere. And her foster mom's next foster kid isn't scheduled to arrive for a couple of weeks. So the foster mother says it's okay if Della needs to stay a few extra days, but Ella's already packed and she has a room ready above the convenience store where she works, and she's got a little bit of money saved up. So she's all ready to start her new life. The only thing she has left is one last meeting with her social worker, and they were supposed to have the meeting a few days earlier, but the social worker couldn't make it and couldn't make it. And finally, they get together for lunch, and it turns out that the reason that the social worker had trouble making these meetings is because she was trying to find something out. She's been trying to track down Della's birth mother and finally found the police report of her death, and it turns out that the police had continued to work on it. And a few years ago, they were able to identify who her mother was, track down her family, her belongings, all this stuff. And now the social worker gives this package to Della. And in there, there's her mother journal, a big metal key, uh, and so she's like stunned by this, and a bunch of paperwork. And she's really stunned by this and really horrified by the fact that the police had discovered her mother's identity several years ago. And the paperwork shows that they had contacted her mother's family. Her family knew that she existed and they didn't do anything about it. They continued to let her bounce around between all the foster homes. So she's really, really upset about this. Um, but in addition to the few belongings that she got from her mother, she was also named in her mother's will and now owns a house on the other side of the country in North Carolina. And at first she wants nothing to do with this. She doesn't want to meet these people. She doesn't want to go there. The house is probably fallen apart by now. and her foster mother convinces her to at least go and see. I mean, who knows? At least she should know what's going on over there. So she decides to head over there. So she arrives in North Carolina with all her new identity papers. She had to redo her birth certificate and all this other stuff. And she meets with the lawyer who represents the family and her. But there's a family trust that she's inherited that's been kind of taking care of the house. And they meet at the bank where there's a safety deposit box with all these more documents, including um, including more of her mother's journals, plus some family jewelry and a bunch of money. And the safety deposit box turns out to open with that big metal key that she got. And the lawyer explains that only her grandfather was notified about her mother's death, and he didn't tell anybody else in the family because the lawyer would have known about it if he had. And the police reports show that the grandfather was the one who was notified. And he insists that the rest of the family would be happy to see her, but she doesn't want to meet them yet. She just wants the lawyer to take her to the house. So she picks up some stuff and goes to this house, which has no electricity and no heat, but one of her uncles has been paying the taxes on it because he didn't want his sister's house to disappear because he still thought his sister was missing. Not that, I mean, nobody knew that his sister had died, that her mother had died. And so there's a bunch of furniture in there covered with bed sheets, and she decides to camp out there. And the next day, she meets a cousin and her uncle, and they're all horrified that they didn't know that she exists, and they want to welcome her into the family. And all along, we've also been getting some hints that Della's got some psychic kind of abilities because she can tell if somebody means to do her harm, which has been useful in those group homes. And also that the family's inheritance goes to along the woman line. So it goes from grandmother to mother to daughter, which is a little unusual, but makes you think, is there going to be something witchy going on? So I haven't read far enough into the book. I'm only a few chapters in. So I don't know yet what the magic part of it is going to be yet. But I do have to say that Della is a very compelling character. This is not my kind of book. She's a teenager. There's all this family drama. Nobody's gotten killed, at least, on screen. As far as I've read, there have been no battles, no magical fights, like nothing. But it was still very engrossing, pulled me in. And even though there should be nothing about the book that I would like, I'm kind of interested in sticking with it and see what happens. I'm like really caught up in the story. All right. So, yes, that's my review of that book, Gathering Water. Oh, and the reason there's water in it is because the house is on the beach in North Carolina.
All right, so I'll go on to the next one. I have it pulled up here. It is called The 28th Gate by Christopher C. Dimond, and it's the first of 8 novella collections in the 28th Gate space opera series. The other books are $4.99 each, and they are not in Kindle Unlimited. And Maria read this for us, so Maria, you want to also talk about what this one is about?
All right. I actually read this a while ago. Um, oh, look, I do have it. All right. Let's see if I can keep it on the screen. There we go. So, so this author wrote a giant series of novellas and then grouped them into 8 books. And this is the first of those 8 books. And I first read it when I did a roundup article on best sci-fi short fiction on Amazon. And I read this book, I liked it, and I went and I got the second book in the series, and I read that to the end as well. So I definitely enjoyed this. So when the book opens, we're introduced to Hunter, a contract bounty hunter with a starship grade particle cannon that he can like hold in one hand that he usually keeps in a holster on him. very kind of wild, wild west vibes or Firefly kind of vibes. So he's taken on freelance jobs on out of the way worlds and trying to avoid being noticed by some big mega corporation. When he gets a new job offer, a small local company wants him to track down an employee who's stolen some proprietary information. But then he finds out that what they're actually doing is hiring him to track down the thief and kill him. Now, and he doesn't mind finding people, and he also doesn't mind killing people, but he doesn't like finding people in order to kill them. He's got standards. And also, he figures out that it's a corporate guy making this job offer, that they're trying to like fool him into taking this. And he really doesn't like that. They don't like the fact that he turns down the job and everybody draws their guns. But luckily, his backup, Gloria, another mercenary, shows up in time to stop a gunfight from breaking out. And then they meet another potential client, a guy who's looking to find his missing daughter, and that one is much more up their alley, and that's the job that they take. So, like I said, I like the writing, I like the characters, I like the Firefly vibes, and I finished this book and I read the second book in the series to the end as well. So, highly recommended if you like that kind of thing.
All right, awesome. I'll then move on to book number 3 on our list. I got this pulled up for you guys. This one is called The Broken Heart of Arelium by Alex Robbins. It's the first of 4 books in the War of the 12 epic fantasy series, and the other books are $4.99 to $5.99 each, but they are all on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get these for free. It also sounds really interesting because I really like epic fantasy, and Maria also read this one for us. So Maria, tell us what this one's about.
Yeah, like I said, I had a busy day today. All right. So, yeah. So, the thing I like best about this book is, as far as I've read so far, and as far as I can tell from the description, nobody in this book falls in love. Yes. Thank you. And in fact, they have to be celibate. That's part of their job description. Um, yes, there's something wrong with me. But anyway, so the book opens with Reed, who's a fighter. He's looking down over an enormous circular crater that stretches all the way to the horizon. And there's a 12-foot high wall around the perimeter of this whole crater, and with towers and watchmen and single signal fires and enough wood to keep lanterns burning around the clock. But the walls are old and these towers are starting to crumble and repairs are promised but never arrive. And over the years, the number of guards has been kind of growing smaller and smaller, and it's been getting harder to recruit new men. Because, the job is kind of boring, and there's the whole celibacy requirement, like I mentioned before. So then there's a signal fire goes up in a distant tower, and then it's joined by more and more signal fires because a section of the wall is in danger and needs help. So Reed and some watchmen head towards the beacons, followed by more of the guards. And the two of them find a body that's been mauled. And then this short gray creature with spindly clawed arms attacks the guy who's with Reed and kills the guy. Reed fights the creature and kills it, but then more creatures appear, and Reed and the other guards run for safety as the creatures try to surround them, and they get to the gatehouse, and they find that there's lots more bodies strewn around the square and around the guardhouse and the gate, and there's only a few men are left trying to keep the creatures at bay, and the creatures get around the wall and attack them from the back. So they're surrounded on all sides by this wave of these horrible, nasty creatures, and it looks like they're all gonna die when suddenly help arrives. The help is one guy, this 7-foot tall man carrying a 5-foot long axe, and he's a knight and he's got superhuman strength. And he yells at the creatures that they have violated the peace treaty. And then in a few seconds, he like kills more creatures than these guys have been able to kill over the past hour and drives them back. So tons of action right from the beginning, which I love. Lots of murder and mayhem. I really like that. Again, as I said, there must be something wrong with me. But anyway, if you like that kind of thing, you like epic fantasy, you like big battles, definitely pick this one up. It looks like there's a nice big battle between good and evil, and the evil forces are coming back and are attacking this peaceful fantasy land. So exactly the kind of book that I want to read, when it comes to epic fantasy. And Reed is a fun character, and the setting seems really interesting and intriguing from what I read so far.
Yeah, that one sounds really interesting. I'll have to look at that one because I really like epic fantasy always. So I got book number two pulled up for us. It is A Fate of Wrath and Flame, and it's by K.A. Tucker. So this is the first of four books in the Fate and Flame romance series. The other books are $5.99 each, but they are on Kindle Unlimited. And I actually read this one, so I get to talk about it. And I'll start by saying that I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Because romantasy, you think there's like gonna be a lot of tropes. I thought it would be pretty standard because when I was reading about this book, like learning about it, reading the summary, it looked like it was gonna have a lot of tropes. Like it was gonna have like elemental magic. It was gonna have a bunch of stuff. And I thought, oh, I don't really know if this is gonna be worth my time. But I was pleasantly surprised because it had some pretty different things for what I'm used to reading. So it begins with a prologue. Two characters, Sophie and Elijah, they are husband and wife. It's the early 18th century, and they're living in this like European castle, and there are witch burnings taking place just outside their castle doors, so like the foot of their doors, basically. And they claim to be nobility. Turns out they're actually servants to some kind of devilish deity. He's kind of like a fire god, and this is where like the elemental magic sort of kicks in. But for a while, they've been claiming that they are like nobility and people have believed them, but now all the people, the citizens of wherever they are in Europe, are starting to get suspicious. And they know that like their time is limited because whenever people get too suspicious of them, they pray to this deity and they have the deity grant them entirely new bodies. So they have the same identity, but they just look different. So they're effectively immortal, and they also can hide from people when people started thinking, hey, these people have been around for a really long time and they're not really aging, and also they might not be who they say they are. So they've been doing a lot of running around over the past few centuries. So Sophie announces that it's likely the people below who are doing all the witch burnings, they'll likely learn that they dabble in these dark arts. She's probably going to die from the witch burnings, just like her friend, because they're taking all the women who look suspicious and they're going to like burn them at the stake. Elijah insists that's not going to happen because he's there to protect her. Sophie also reminds him that she was chosen by a deity, that deity I mentioned, so she can always get a new body. She's not worried about that. But it's not really clear at the moment what exactly she's been chosen for. And I get the feeling that that's going to come up later in the book. So things proceed to get steamy. It thankfully skips over, any of the graphic stuff, just like tells you what's happening. And the two go to bed. So Sophie wakes up the next morning. She's in her new body, just like she thought. She's like, okay, this is great. Don't have to worry about people recognizing me. But then she looks over and Elijah appears like he's dead. So she starts panicking as Sophie uses her fire magic that she received from this deity. She calls out to locate Elijah's spirit. And his spirit, however, is whisked away from her into a void. So it's kind of like a null place. And Sophie realizes that this is the curse from the deity they worship, this fire god. He doesn't want Elijah to come back in a new body. She has no idea why. So then 300 years pass. It's in the present, and Sophie has taken refuge in another castle. It's like the standard, people think that there's like, vampires or something in the castle, so all the people stay away, and she gets to just hang out there with her dead husband, who she keeps around in this coffin, and she's basically just carted his body around everywhere. So she's gone through like several new bodies over the years. She's been praying, she's been doing deity's bidding. She hopes that the deity will restore her husband, take him out of the void. Finally, the deity appears and says it's time for the next step. So all this takes place in the prologue. And finally, it shifts to the first chapter, which is T, short for Taryn. She's this woman, like college student. She works as a jewel thief for a crime boss. She's at this fancy New York party in the middle of high society, and she just locates her target. All of a sudden, this woman comes up to her and announces that she knows who T is and that she knows she steals jewels. And then the woman introduces herself as Sophie. So it's Sophie from the beginning, and that's where I left off reading. But I have to say, I was really excited about this one. There was like a lot of action. I really enjoy the way that they use different tropes because it's like one, the two people who are in love, like they're already married, and the like elemental magic, but they use elemental magic to like call through like the to the spirit world and stuff like that. So I hadn't really seen anything like that before. And then I was really interested in finding out how it was going to connect with T because this is now a completely different environment, but it also wasn't something that's like, oh, like they're gonna fall in love or something, it wasn't any of those tropes like that. At least not right away. And it wasn't shoved in my face. It does say it's romantasy, but it's not like so much so that you're like, okay, I can figure out what this is going to be about and what's going to happen. No, I really didn't know what was going to happen, so I was really excited, and I think I might stick with this one. So I'm going to keep going. Before we get to book number one, I want to thank everyone on our Patreon list, especially like the latest people who have just subscribed and become patrons. Our team is run entirely by volunteers, including Maria and myself. We are currently doing, like, we have a bunch of projects going underway. Like, we have the anthology, and Maria could definitely show you some images of the latest covers for that. And then we also serialized Gods and Monsters by E.E. King. We're serializing another novel by Geordie Moss. And can you remind me of the name of that one, Maria?
RENNA'S Crossing.
That was it. Yeah, Rent's
Yeah.
Crossing.
Oh,
So
here's Gods and Monsters, and here's the first three anthologies.
yeah, we're currently working on the latest anthology, so that is like taking up a lot of our time, and we're hoping to get that rolled out, and we're
And by
really excited
we,
about it.
and by we, Emma means her and like a team of like half a dozen volunteers. I
Yeah,
just
pretty
counted
much.
up. We have like 60 people on the MetaStellar team, like all together right now, not counting the judges for the spring and fall fiction submission cycles.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then before we get to number one, I want to mention that I am also a freelance editor and book coach. So you message me about anything related to editing and also beta reading. I've worked with several clients already, including Maria. And speaking of Maria, her books are up on Amazon. They have also reached a humorous sci-fi bestseller list on Amazon. So I was really excited to hear about that. And I recommend that you check them out. So I'm going to go to book number one. It is Space Team by Barry J. Hutchison. It is the first of 12 books in the Space Team humorous space opera series. The other books are a dollar, like 99 cents to 2.99 each. They're all in Kindle Unlimited. And Maria also read this review for us. So Maria, tell us what this one's about.
Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I just looked it up, and my book Crim Times, which is included in this, it's a novella. It's included in this book, which is not up yet because I'm too lazy to publish it. But hopefully, with Emma's help, I'll get myself organized and get it up on Amazon. But it's number 20. It's number 20 on today's Amazon humorous science fiction bestseller list. So, and it's free,
Wow.
so you can pick it up. All right, so Space Team. Okay, this is the book that jinxed me today. So normally when I do these reviews, I send out a list of the books to everybody in our team, and other people pick the books, and I read whatever's left. And today I was like, no, I'm not gonna wait for other people to pick books. I'm picking this one because this book looks too good. So I grabbed that book first, and then nobody else other than Emma volunteered to read today.
I
And
was
so
gonna say I helped you out.
so you helped me out, but nobody else did. And that's why I read four books today. Anyway, Space Team was it's awesome. It reminds me of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Spaceballs. Um, you can't really see it because the cover's too small right now, but the subtitle says, what does the subtitle say? Um, saving the galaxy so you don't have to, but the word saving is crossed out and it says screwed up in little red print. And the spaceship has that little black sign right there at the end, and it says suck it. And this little guy, he's saying, oh, haha, guys, real mature. As he's floating up in space with that, I guess the spaceship is like sailing away and leaving him there alone. So, fun cover, love the cover. And so I just grabbed it and started reading. So first there's in this book, in addition to a great cover and a fantastic description, it also has over 4,000 five-star reviews on Amazon and more than 5,000 star reviews on Goodreads. People love this book. Not that I necessarily love what everybody else loves, but it's a really good sign. So anyway, there's a short prologue about a cyborg trying to fight against the authorities on an alien planet, losing. And then we meet our protagonist. His name is Cal. He's a small-time crook. He's sentenced to serve 2 years in a cushy prison for identity theft, or as he likes to put it, identity borrowing. And with good behavior, he's going to get out in half the time. But there's been a bureaucratic mistake, and he's sent to the wrong prison. And he really annoys the warden because he's like, oh, I'm in the wrong place. I shouldn't be here. And the warden says, oh, I can't get you transferred until tomorrow. You're going to have to spend the night here. And look, we've got an empty cot waiting for you. And the empty cot is with this mass murderer called the Butcher. And so Cal is freaking out a little bit because the Butcher is a horrible murderer who chopped up and ate his whole family and put him into carefully marked bags in his freezer. Gigantic man in his 50s, baby-faced, scars on his forehead, teeth filed to sharp points, and he also likes to be naked from the waist down, which creeps Cal out no end. So Cal wedges himself in the farthest corner of the cell, and he's like, tells the Butcher, I'm gonna just stay here all night. Don't mind me. I'll be gone tomorrow. And the Butcher's having none of it. He gets down from his cot. He goes over to Cal, and they have a conversation that seems cordial at first, but then goes really, really wrong really quickly in hilarious ways. And things just keep getting worse. And they go worse still. So there's a fight with the Butcher, a riot in the prison behind them, and then weird people show up and start injecting Cal with something. He falls unconscious. When he wakes up, he's in a different room. Same size as his cell, but completely empty, and he's shackled down like Silence of the Lambs style, with like thing on his face and everything. And it's aliens. Cal's been kidnapped by aliens, and now he's on their spaceship. And they've also kidnapped a sulky werewolf, a cyborg, and a jar of goo with eyeballs. The aliens inject him with something that lets him understand what people are saying, and he makes a joke about the babblefish from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But of course, the aliens don't laugh because they don't know what he's talking about. And he finds out what's going on. There's the Zertex Corporation, which runs the 11 billion planets in this sector of the galaxy. They need some serious criminals. And the werewolf and the cyborg are like really, really bad guys. And they're like, and the Butcher is like the most prolific serial killer on Earth. So of course we want you, the Butcher. And Cal tries to tell him that he's not the Butcher. They made a mistake. And they're like, oh yeah, in that case, we'll just like space you. And he's like, no, 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 I'm the Butcher. I'm the Butcher. So he has to pretend to be a serial killer. And the company wants them for a very specific mission. Cal would rather be sent back home. And then he finds out that the Earth has been destroyed, mostly destroyed, at least 2/3 gone, by accident while the aliens were scooping up Cal. So I can see why people love the book. Definitely has very strong Hitchhiker's vibes. I got to chapter 7 before I had to force myself to stop reading so I could finish this review. It's fun, it's breezy, it's light. The characters are cartoonish, they're over the top, which is not a bad thing if you're in the mood for something like really escapist, which I am. I'm definitely in the mood for something escapist. I would not mind being kidnapped by aliens. That sounds good to me right about now. So if that's something you're into, pick it up. And I definitely am planning to stick with it. And like Emma said, the other books are all in Kindle Unlimited, and there's 12 books in the series, and they all have rave reviews. So I'm very excited about it. All right, so there we go. That's all the books for today. And let's see, what else do we have to? Emma, tell them about Renna's Crossing serialization.
Okay, I don't really know too much about it other than we set like we have readings of it on YouTube that go up every week. I think it's every Monday, isn't it?
Every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every
Eastern
Tuesday.
Time.
Every Tuesday at 9 a.m. So Geordie, the author, he reads a chapter of his book, and every week that new chapter goes up so that you can watch it completely on YouTube. And I think Maria is later going to pull up the playlist or like any one of the videos as well, like, on either side. So also check those out.
And all the links are in the description box below, both to Renna's
Yep.
Crossing and to Gods and Monsters and the anthologies. And yeah, subscribe if you don't want to miss any of them. And oh, let us know in the comments if you like violence or love and mushy stuff in your speculative fiction. Leave a
I think we
heart
know where
or
you're leaning. Yeah.
leave a heart or a sword emoji. And now here are the links to the Rennis Crossing first installment and an interview with the author. See you guys next Friday. Bye bye, everybody. Love you
Bye.
guys. Thanks for watching.